Hi, you guys. Welcome to our general biology class for this semester, which is spring of 25. I'm your instructor, your teacher, Christoph Muhlinghaus. I've put this course together. I'm still working on this course, and I want to introduce it to you in this little short video. First thing, though, that we need to make sure is to make sure you can sign into Canvas. And if you cannot sign into Canvas, make sure you get some help. At this point, I did send you through Pronto. If you have Pronto, that'd be great to check that out. Actually, all you guys have Pronto, which is a texting app that Merced College utilizes for on-campus texting kind of stuff for us instructors with you students and so forth. So try to find out if you can have it. If you don't, look on Canvas. Once you get in, it says Pronto. Pronto. It's one of the icons you can click on and it opens a new window. Or you can also look for an app. I use the app on my phone, which works really, really well to communicate with you guys, especially, well, the ones who use it, of course. So let's see if you guys can see if you guys can find that. I personally can also text if it's difficult, or finding that Pronto thing, help you out with it, or we can use the school email as well to communicate. But Pronto is sort of the easiest way once we got established. But first, make sure you get into Canvas, and then when you're into Canvas, you're going to open the course that we're in. And let me now go down and make me small. And make this course bigger. As big as we can get it. We don't need to see anything else. And we're going to go through that for a little bit. Anytime you have questions, just reach out, shoot me a text, a Pronto, an email. I try to get through the emails, but it's the hardest ones for me to get through. So if you can communicate with me through text or Pronto, that would be easiest. Let's see. So when you start the class, this is what you see. You're going to have a couple of announcements up on top. And then this is the home page or the front page. And then you have a little bit of a blurb that talks about the interesting world that we're going to dive into. And then you can enter into the course through there. You got a little bit about me. That's my dog, Austin. I do everything with him. He's my partner in crime, so to speak, during the day. And then I think about how to create things. I'll have him next to me. And then when you want to get started, you go into enter modules to get started here. Or you can, that's him, you can hear him. Or you can also go on this side and enter to the modules on that side to get to where you need to go. And then on here, we got a few other prompts that you can see. We got your grades. We got who else is in the class. We have a link to the syllabus, which we'll go through, etc. And then there is some more down in here that are for you guys to explore. But the most important one is going to be this module one to get started. So when we go in there, or again through the front page, you see a few things listed there, a few of these so-called modules. And modules are sort of sections, and for the most part, the sections are going to be in weeks. And I numbered them week 1 through however long we go, 17, or ultimately with the final week, it's going to be 18. And we start with a orientation module in the front, which kind of keeps the stuff in that we don't have in the other modules. And then I don't have it listed yet or not open at this point. There is some modules that don't say weeks. Those are the ones that we have exams. The tests themselves have their own modules because we do everything online in this class. You hopefully are aware of this. This class is pretty much an asynchronous class, as they call that. That means we don't really meet on a time. We just do everything through video. I do, as I texted you or announced or emailed, and hopefully you got some, I do Zoom previews of the week on Monday morning at 11 o'clock. And so that is something that you can come be part of, ask questions and get a live idea of what the week looks like. But also I make a video recording of that, and so you don't have to worry about it if you don't can do that, because it's not necessarily convenient for everybody. If you want to have Zooms on other times with me, that is not a problem. We just have to set it up and make an appointment for it. I'm here for you guys to help you through this class. The material is given online, and we can actually go right through someone like that. I gonna want to go through the syllabus, and then week 1 is this week, which is a little different than every other week. But actually, why don't we just go through a week 2? And week 2 is where we have sort of the framework of how the class is structured, because everything then kind of looks similar throughout the weeks. Again, week 1 is a little bit different, which is week 1, we kind of orient ourselves. We do a few house cleaning things, like make an account thing or a profile thing, and introduce ourselves. And then week 2, we really start with the meat of the material. And every week then is having some sections that are the learning sections, then assignment sections. We have lecture assignments and we have lab assignments. And then afterwards, we wrap it up. The lecture type assignments, the content, the lecture learning content, is essentially the lecture material. And we deliver that, or I deliver that in a video format. That is like that. You have these prompts where it says video lecture 1, and then it says what it is, the study of life. So we start that, and you just go through these and click on it. These videos are all around 10 minutes long, or a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more, but nothing more fancy than 12 or 13 minutes. That way it's chunked down and it's not too much all at once. When you look at those videos, you can have you can get a transcript here if you want. You can get captions as well. Transcript you can get from up here, these dots in here, and you also get captions. But then what I do, or what the course, how I set it up, is after the video lectures, you will have a section where we do everything in bullet point format again, or line out the bullet point format what I really want from you as a sort of a study outline. It's also just an outline of how the video flows. So you can go through here. See, you have these accordion, you click on it, and then it opens a tab. So it's not all the material all at once on one page. It structures it a little better. But you see here, it sort of lists everything in a bullet point format with titles. And this is great material to go through for flashcards or other ways of studying, take notes. Because what you can do also, if you close that again, you can download these things and then print them out if you want, or download them on an iPad or something like that, a tablet, and then you can annotate from there. So that's another way of doing it here with the PDF downloads. And then after that, that gives you a pretty good understanding of the material. And then I also, though, what I do is I take the reading content, the book that's an open book, it's a free resource, an online text. This here goes to that text. That's another window. But what I also did is I brought the text into the learning into Canvas, and so that way you can just open these pages and read up on what the video is about, or go more a little in detail of something that maybe I didn't explain exactly how you could understand it or so, and then that gives you another resource. You don't have to read these. I believe your material is pretty well processed or pretty much obtained with the video lectures, and I think the bullet points are probably very handy, or at least a starting point for your own studies. And then the other part, and then have a reference here as a reading material. And then we go through assignments, and we have lecture assignments and lab assignments. And lecture assignments they're always structured very similarly. The first, we have questions on the material. So every item, every concept that we talk about in the video, I want to have a question laid behind. That's why these questions are the point value you see here are per how many questions, so kind of how many concepts are in this chapter, and then I make sure we touch on all the stuff again in a sort of quiz format. And in these quizzes, you could take as many times as you want. You can have as long as you want on them. So there's no problem with none of that stuff. It's really the material, massaging the material into your brain kind of work. And when we take it or we start it, it looks like And it shows you a question, you answer it, goes to the next thing, and then when you're done, you submit the quiz. And of course, it says you have so many unanswered ones, and the one you did is probably wrong. Um, I submitted the quiz, and then you can look at your answers, and it tells you also, it guides you to the right answer if your answer was incorrect. And then you take it again. There is more than one, there's a question set, so you get more than one question. So it kind of massages the material into the brain over a few times. And then the highest score will count. And, as far as I'm concerned, these are things, activities that you should, or you can get the full value of the score that it is allowing. So you should get 100% on those if you work it a few times. Busy work, but good kind of busy work. So then after that, if I'm going back in, sorry, I'm moving around a little bit. There we go, clearing up the data. Then after that, after the quizzes of the content, we're going to have a few discussions. And the first discussion is going to always be, what did you like about the lecture, or something that stood out, and elaborate on that a little bit. And when I ask a discussion, I want of you about, a few paragraphs, or ideally, actually, I prefer, or I think it's very valuable to also make a video, make a 90 plus minute and a half video of your post that you're asked to talk about. And in this discussion, in one discussion, you are asked to talk about, an idea that you liked about this week's material that spoke to you, and elaborate a little bit on that situation of why, and go into it a little bit. And then that way we have also a conversation where we talk to each other, not in the classroom or online, but we talk to each other at least online about it. Because you do a post, and you want you to do that post by Friday. I know that's a little something to start the work. I know a lot of people do the work mostly on the weekend, although no, it's still the majority is, and that's okay. But I do want to kind of prevent a little bit from like last minute cramming by putting in a few things like that as well. So that way you can like expose yourself to a lecture, even passively somewhat, start listening to it, and then like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then that's sort of the first discussion you elaborate on when you get to it, and you just start the process that way, and start writing a prompt, or structure a little video, and then take a video. When you do a video, I would sort of outline it and then talk about those points. That's what I do, or at least what I try to do. And then afterwards, you're going to read once you post, you can see what other people posted. And then you read a few of the other people's prompts and respond back to two of them. Ideally two or more, but two of them for sure. And that way we have a little bit of an interaction with each other in these discussion boards. And then after the first one, which is what you've learned and what spoke to you, the second discussion is going to be always about concepts in the real world. And there I want you to think about a few prompts, a few things, a few ideas that we discussed that week, and reflect on them, and they're described right here, and reflect on them, and reflect on your life every day out there. How does this apply to it? And I give you examples for it, and then you write or make a video on those, answer those. Nothing too deep, just kind of like trying to tie the material together in sort of a real life setting to make it more understandable and also more memorable that way. And so that's what these activities are really for. The good thing about these activities, every activity, let me go to that real quick. Every activity has a rubric. And in the discussions, the rubric are at these three dots up here. In some other assignments, they're just at the bottom. So if you don't find them at the bottom, go to these three dots. And in the rubric, it tells you what I want you to do and what the point value behind it is. And those activities, all those activities actually, except for the exams themselves, are going to be I'm going to give you either all the points if you did it, or none of the points if you didn't do it. And so a lot of this stuff is more a completion question from my end. As of course, as well, I'm looking at the content. You can't just say blah 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 blah, and then I give you credit because you posted something. But it's not like you can go that wrong, or you need to read that much into it of how exactly to do it. And if you do have such questions, then just reach out to me, because I don't want you to spend time on being sort of anxious about what do I want from you. I want you to just do, and then we can take it from there. But in these rubrics, I kind of spell out what I really want, and then also what the points are laid behind it. Because what's very important is, let's say I grade your initial response, your initial post, and you haven't replied yet, you might get me giving you 7 points and not 10 points. You go like, oh, why didn't I get all the points? I did everything. And what I do is I go back over and over these discussions, and either guide you in the process for some of them that like forgot to reply, for example, or give you the points as you go along. And so it's kind of like, you think of like you're fetching points instead of I create something and then you get the points, yes or no. Because when we go, for example, into the next activities that are usually structured, the lab activities, those are then, see, we have the discussions, and then we get into the lab activities. And in the lab activities, we have 2 sets that I'm going to do. One set is things that we need to sort of learn and memorize, like a structure of the names of a structure. And those, what we do with those is we do coloring and labeling exercises and activities. And there is the rubric here, which is, I guess, is a pretty long description. Oh, there you go. See, you actually have to click on there to get. So these rubrics are at the bottom. And in those, let me just show you, for example, when I look at one of them, like here, the first one. So that's a labeling and a coloring, and then also a description activity. Hopefully it doesn't take forever long. Look at that. Maybe. Yeah, there we go. And that, what I want you to do is you can either download it, print it out, put it on an iPad, annotate it. Actually, you can also annotate it through here. And then you go in and you write in the terms that I want you to do. And then later on down here, you describe what those terms are. And then you upload that, or you actually annotate it in the assignment. Or you do it on your own. You draw it. You just create. The creativity is very, very helpful and very, very important. And then I give you feedback, and the feedback, or I grade you according to this rubric. And let's say you labeled it, but you didn't color it, or you didn't do the description. Then you get these points, but you don't get these points down here. And then you go back and go like, oh, let me redo it, or let me finish it. And then you hand it in again, finished, and then I give you the rest of the points. So these are activities that I want you to be able to make up and learn and work with, and not just you do them and then that's it and you get a grade and that's the end of the story. So when you first time you get just 0 points and you freak out, don't freak out, or try not to freak out, because it's a work in progress, so to speak. The first the first lab activities are the labelings, and then a second lab activity type that I'm creating, as this class is still in the process of making it, is observation, field observation, and practical application. And for example, what we do there in the first week, or in the second week, we look at something that we can observe in nature. We look at the plants moving with the sun, for example, or we apply a concept that we've learned. And in the second week, in the first lesson, we're going to learn about the scientific method. And so we're going to sort of apply the scientific method and think it through on an everyday problem, and then integrate the activity further, or the material further that way, by learning how to apply it. And so that's pretty much the way that the weeks are set up, and we finish up with some further learning opportunities. I give you some links there. Start building. If you have good YouTube links and so forth, this is where I'm going to put those. I always rely on you guys as well to keep me help me build that as well as I can. And then finishing up, we just talk about what we've done and make sure you've done the activities. But also, I created a Padlet activity each week where you go in and you reflect on something that you have a question still, or you have a win. Oh, and it's not loading right now. Well, we're gonna have to figure out what's wrong with that one. But that's not till week 2, so I'm good. I'm good. Help. I have some time to fix that problem. But the Padlet is sort of a format. It's like a post-it type format where you can ask a question to the student body, or say, "Hey, that was," or put up a win and say, like, "Hey, that really clicked," and maybe have a link with why it clicked or so. And then also give people feedback who have questions, and you have an understanding of something that they are not understanding yet, because maybe I wasn't able to explain it that well, or so. And so it's a place where we have a little bit of community that way. And then also I go through these every week as diligent as I can, and learn from you guys, learn from how to make things better, and what is like, where do I do a little bit too much of that, or little too little of that, or so it guides me on how to be a better teacher to you guys. And these Padlets also are when a lot of the students go and ask about extra credit. These are the extra credit activities that then give you the boost if you need that, or also just to be finishing up a week and reflect back on a week. It's really also integrated to be taken, to be done, to really make an integrative experience. Okay, so that's sort of how the main weeks are structured. And then one other thing that I incorporate in the material, I have week 3 is one, and we actually do start with one in week 1 this week that I'll talk about briefly. These are activities of how to sort of tie the material into our own life, into our own body, and feeling healthy and feeling well, and how and we do a few activities that guide us in that. For example, I have us an activity that we go look at some food labels, because we talk about biomolecules, chemical molecules, proteins and fats and carbohydrates. And we're going to go look at food labels of stuff that we eat and analyze those a little bit. And so then it makes it relevant to how we go through life as well, and applicable to us. And hopefully we can use some of this to go like, oh, look at that. It makes me feel good when I do that. And so maybe I should keep doing that a little bit more. And this class gives me sort of an opportunity as we go through the processes of life and learn about the world and nature and ourselves also through that, to teach you some of these things that I've done at this point about over 10 years for other classes, and they've sort of been more or less refined. And so what we actually do is we start with one this week already, where we go into one of those activities. But let's go now for the class orientation briefly, where I just have everything in this module, most importantly the syllabus, and then meet me and how to contact me. So just refer back to this in here. But let's go through the syllabus first. So when we open that tab, if the accordions are closed, and then look here, you can go like expand all panels. We can expand all panels. So here we have the title of the course, blah, blah, the description. That's all about, we're learning about the world, the biology, me, my email. What else is there? That is, you best connect me through the email on Canvas, this email, or also then Pronto. Prerequisites, we do not have any prerequisites for this class. This is an introduction class, which makes it a lot of fun to explore the world with open eyes. And then we have the student learning outcomes. And those are things that are laid behind when the class got created as a class. And we just always link back to those. So you don't have to really read those all the time. The language in those is a little bit like, interpret the natural world using the scientific method. For us, that just means we're looking at the things with scientific minds, analytical minds kind of thing. And so they're a little generic to some level, but we feed back to them. And here they are if you want to look them up and go back. And then the course objectives is sort of a similar thing, just a little more detailed. And then we talk about the class material, the text. We do not have a class text. Well, we do have a class text, actually, but it's not necessarily to be read from A to Z. It's more like a reference text, and it's where I make the videos from. So the videos go with the textbook, and then this is the link to it. And it's also the text that then I bring into the modules, as I explained previously. Attendance policy, well, it's not really an attendance class, but you got to do your stuff. Otherwise, that sort of the participation is kind of the attendance on that part. All right, then let's go right into the grade determination and grade cutoff. I pretty much presented most of what we're doing in each week. Hi, Austin. Yeah, come on up to you. And here's described again. But basically, we ended up looking at lecture assignments, then these lab assignments, and we also going to have us some exams, and then we're going to have us a group project, which I haven't talked about yet because that's at the latter part of the class. It's the second part of the course where we work in groups of 3 of you guys and take a disease, a pathology, all the way to, researching it and see what we can do for it, what treatments is, and then make a short, brief video off of it. It's usually a very fun activity, and students have a good time doing it, even though, it's a multi-step process. But we'll break it down that it's not, the steps are well broken down, and I'll hold your hands through it. I like doing an activity of such early on in schooling because it's something that we get refined as we're doing it. And then, of course, we have exams, and the exams are similar to the quizzes, those questions, or the method is the way it's done is the same, except we can take it multiple times and it's timed. Those are the 2 differences for the exam. But you know how to do it. You know the quiz tool by the time we get to that. And then when it comes to weighing of these different parts, we weigh everything 25%. So we got 25 lecture, 25 lab. So 50% is pure busy work. So you can get, and that's that's important because it massages the stuff into the system, and then you remember it. And then we have the group project, which is also 25, and then 25% are these exams that we have. We have the 3 exams. I have 3 exams. They're not cumulative. So the final exam is the last exam is in the finals week, but it's not a cumulative exam. It's just the last portion. So we group it down into portions and create 3 exams out of that. Good. And then, of course, when we look at the grading itself, we got the A, B, C, D, F schedule. And that's it. From that, make sure you look at the rubrics that guides you to what value is what given. And when I graded, I used the rubric to grade it as well. So you can see what you need to change to get the full grade. So that's important. You can always get the full grade for these things. The only thing you cannot revise and bring back and make it better is the exams themselves. That's it. And then here is learning activities. We start every week. We're building it up a little bit more and a little bit more. And I'm still building the class, as you can see, but we have pretty much laid out the weeks of what we're going to do. We might adjust down here a little bit. I haven't seen exactly how many weeks I spent on exactly what yet. That will guide me a little as I'm creating it. But we'll work together on that. And then homework policy. The homeworks are due on midnight on Sunday. So that's 12 a.m. Although if you're late, you're not going to have that bad of a problem because your policy, you're losing 1% per day. And so if you hand it in on Monday, you have, instead of 100%, you get 99%. And on Tuesday, 98%. And then on the 10th day, you get 90%. But you still get 90% if you do everything. And for the most part, as I said before, that's mostly work that you can do better. And so even though if you're late, you can still get your A for your 90% on those activities. Of course, you don't want to waste the 10% if you don't have to. that gives you an urge to be on time, but it's not the end of the universe. And if at the end of the day you have a real good reason why you're late, and it's sort of on the cusp, and if I take the lates out, then you get the other grade, and of course we're going to do that. I'm not here to punish you, but it helps us be more or less on time with each other, and that is kind of important. Okay, then anyway, makeup policy. Well, we just talked about these makeup things. Then academic honesty or dishonesty. That's a school policy. ADA is a school policy. Section is called netiquette. We have an activity around the netiquette, which means a Zoom etiquette. It's called now, which is kind of the online way of being nice to each other. The only one that actually I don't have, that I don't work with, is to raise your hand. In my class, you can just call into it because I can't keep everything on track. So I need you to interrupt me. But then we have an inclusivity statement, diversity, and then student support systems. That was also in the welcome letter, some of that, and of course the disclaimer. And then also when we go to the module on the class orientation, we also have the services listed here again. We have a diversity statement. We also have resources here. That's where they're listed again. And then on this model, in addition to what we've already mentioned, I have a tools to study thing. I have an activity of that during the first week that refers back to this. I'm a very fond person of memorization with flashcards. And so I talk about why that is, or, similar. These days we have them on the phone too. So that's kind of cool. And then we have a diversity part in there. I talk about that we live in a very diverse world, and we want to make sure we help each other with that. No, it's not help each other, actually. It's almost like we take advantage of each other in some ways, but not in a negative, but in a like we further each other's understanding of the world by coming together. That's what I mean by that. And so that's what that talks about. It talks about that we're really enriching to each other if we're working with one another. And that's really always the case. And we just have to spend a little time on diversity and talking about it, because it's not necessarily just common sense for everybody. But for me, it is, and for us, it will be. Anyway, we have a little bit about that. We talk briefly of an activity where we talk about a little bit about the bias that we have been exposed. We all have been exposed to those. So that's just some beginning activity to set up the framework of the course well. But then we have also some help for Canvas course help from external. We have tutoring. We can improve on the course. Whenever you have an improvement, please speak up, help me. It's a course for you guys. I'm not administrator. Hopefully I'm the learning coach as well as the administrator. And then also Studio. Studio is a video recording app. You see that over here. You see Studio. You click here. You get to it. That's the video recording that you can use, an app that you can use to make videos that you then upload. But also the other thing that I'm really fond of, as we actually talk about this Canvas thing real quick, I like the app. The phone app is fantastic. And so that's what I would go. I think that's in here, is a link to the phone app. Oh yeah, I need to make a new video. See here, the phone app is fantastic, because what you can do is you make a selfie video and upload the selfie video and just attach it, and it does it automatically. And so it's much easier in many ways, as far as I feel, to do certain things. And so make sure you check it out and do what you can on the phone if it feels easier. What else is there? That's it for this part. And then week one, what activities? God, I've been talking so much. I'm sorry. Week one is the netiquette lecture that we look at, just to make sure we all talk the same language and we are nice to each other. Again, it's one of those things, but it's important not to minimize it, but don't have to spend, extra time thinking into it. It's just important that we're on the same page. And I have a little contract that you tell me that what you do, what you expect. And then we have a little brief thing where I want you to answer orientation, any questions that you have for me, any questions from the syllabus, and then I can answer those for you and help you. Then this is an update your personal profile. I want you to do a video of that in here. This is an activity also where I make you actually do a video this week because I want you to learn and know how to do a video. I also want you to go update your profile here to just make sure, you know, that you do that once for all the classes and everything, you're done with it. And if you have done that already, don't worry about reinventing it. Just use that one. But the video is that you also understand a little bit of how to make a video, because there's a little bit of a threshold, you know, to do it the first time, and then it's easier to do, and we'll kind of take more advantage of it. And so I use that activity for that. And again, if you have any questions, just be in touch with me. And then I do have a discussion on study tools. I do want you to think a little bit about how you're setting up your studies for the semester. That's basically what this is all about. That you understand, you know, that you just think a little bit about it and then talk to each other about it. Some people use a Pronto app, like they time themselves, so that like can be motivating. For example, that's been coming up again in the last few semesters and stuff like that, or a cup of tea or music or, you know, stuff like that. I have my own ritual. And then I do want you to think about the studies that you're doing and reflect on how long. Oh, no, not reflect how long. Reflect on where in your week are you going to study. And you make yourself a little calendar. You don't have to look at this sophisticated. You just, you know, but visualize something for yourself that then you have and you process. Oh, look at that. I'm going to study Monday at this time and Tuesday at this time, or something like that. So you plan it out, even if it's changing later on, that's okay. But we want to make sure we don't not prepare at all, because these classes absorb a lot of time. So if you look at this class as a 4-unit class, you are supposed to be doing 12 hours of work outdoors, outside of the school, outside of the class kind of thing. No, 1 minute, it's 9. It's 9. 6 and 3 should be enough. Yeah, 9, 12 altogether. And so, you know, that's a fair amount of time. We try to make it as fun as organized as possible and as streamlined, so we can save the time where we can and don't waste time on stuff. But at the same time, you do want to make sure you don't procrastinate too long and then fall behind and then to catch up. And so this is sort of an activity to help with that. And then, almost done, we have an activity that put in there that explains, that teaches you how to go to Google and download images and put it in a document. Because a lot of the stuff that we're learning is visual in nature. And I do like to use a lot of pictures and describe things. And I have been benefited a lot from that. And I have seen in the past that if I help you do that process or show you how to do that process once, then you can utilize that potential. You don't have to, but some of you guys will utilize that. So that's what we're doing in there. And then last but not least, we do have a lifestyle. We do have our first health kit assessment. Sorry, I was distracted for a moment. We do have our first health kit activity in this first week, because we're talking about nature, we're talking about biology, we're talking about us as well. We are also nature. And then often we go into talking about how do you feel today. And so I would like start with that. And I start with an activity that helps us understand things that we could do to make us feel better in this world. And that's not, the genetics are the genetics. And so we can always refer back to, well, I have bad genetics, I can't do that. But there's things we can do, and we can improve our feeling, our well-being, our feeling okay in this world by working on things that are chemical in nature, emotional in nature, or physical in nature. And so what I have done is I have created a assessment, self-assessment. You do it on your own way, the way you want to do it, where you go through 7 prompts and you score yourself on 7 aspects of these 3 categories of physical, emotional, and chemical. You think about what you eat, how much water you drink, you think about how much stress you have, and you rate yourself from a 1 to 10. And so you have 7 categories where you do that. And then you score those together, and then you put the score down. I don't really worry about the score. It's more than a comparison later on for you guys. And then I have a part in here where I talk about creating a routine and new habits, because there's actually a little science behind it. And the science basically is going with a reward. If you make yourself do something, you got to make sure you give yourself a reward. And I want you just to think about that a little bit, because then what we're going to do as a group, as a class, we're going to go into a health challenge. And I want you to pick one of the 3 things. I want you to pick either exercising 30 minutes a day, take a walk, drink 2 quarts of water a day, or meditate or pray 10 minutes a day, something mindful, reflective. You don't have to do all of those. You do one of those. And you pick one that you would like to do. And I want you to do those for 5 days a week for 3 weeks. And you keep track of it. I have a habit tracker right here. You somehow keep track of it. You say, I've done it today. And then the other thing, what I'm going to do is because you're going to tell me which one you're going to do. You write that in the submission, in the text box. And then I'm going to create groups in the background in Pronto that we're going to work together, and you text up and say like, hey, I've done it today and that felt great, or something like that. And we encourage each other. And so what I want you to do is I want you to do this lifestyle assessment. These 7 things talks about it. Then I want you to think about this creating a routine thing. And then I want you to pick a challenge. And I talk about these challenges here. And then under submissions, they're all here. And you put that in the text box. You click on the submit the assignment right here and then put that up on the text box. Good. And then that's pretty much it for this week. I know I'm running out of steam here and I'm running out of time. Thank you for your attention. Sorry it's been a little long. Reach out if you have any questions and we'll be in touch. All right. Take care. Bye.